Hello, welcome to Ovulation lesson 2. So today we are learning about different cycle phases. We are starting with our menstrual cycle. So what is a menstrual cycle? A menstrual cycle is from the first day of one menses to the first day of the next menses. It's confusing, right? Okay, I'll put it this way. So we are in June. So let's say on the 1st of June, you saw your period, a full blood, no spotting. A full blood started on the 1st of June. So 1st of June was cycle day 1, 2nd of June cycle day 2, 3rd of June cycle day 3, and 4th of June cycle day 4, and then you continue in that order to count and go. So by the time you get to, today is 29th of June, you get to 29th of June, you saw another menses. Your menses started again. So today is the end of the cycle that started on the 1st, which is making that cycle 29 days, a 29-day cycle, and a new cycle have started today again. So that's why I say it's the beginning, is the first day of one cycle to the first day of the next cycle. So the cycle that started on the 1st of June ended on the 29th of June, and a new cycle has started on the 29th of June. So I'm sure you understand what a menstrual cycle is. And then we come to ovulation. When we are talking about ovulation, we are talking about the menses, the fertile days, and the infertile days. So we'll go again now with a different form. Now we're talking about the menses, the early dry days or the early pap. We're talking about the fertile mucus, which is the egg white, and the 0 days, and then the late pap. So now when you talk about ovulation, let's start with your menses started on the 1st of June, and then ended on the 4th of June, which was your cycle day 4. And then the day after your menses, you did not see anything coming out of your vagina. But of course, the vagina is damp inside all the time, but nothing came out of your vagina like watery or anything. That day is called the early dry days. And it can go like that for 2 days, and then the 3rd day you start seeing a discharge that is like what, like milk, like maybe you dissolve pig milk in water like this, something like this. You can see something like this coming out of your vagina like this. It is called the early pap. Or that same day, something like this can be coming out. This is pap akam. It doesn't stretch, it breaks immediately. Something like this will be coming out, can be coming out. This is called the early pap. For some people, they don't get the dry days. As soon as their period finishes, they start seeing either this milky discharge coming out of their vagina, or this pap, the pap-like discharge coming out of their vagina. And then a few days, these two, any of them might come out for 2 or 3 days. Then after these days, you start seeing the one that draws, like the egg white. Something like this will start coming out. Exactly. For some people, it is this much. This is the type I have. Oh yeah, I'm very fertile, babes. So something like that will be coming out of your vagina. It is the beginning of your fertile days. So this can come out for up to 3, 4, 5 days, even 6 days. So as the days are going, each day goes by, it's reducing in size and in quantity. So as the days go by, you are not seeing it this much, you start seeing it this much, like this. Until you get to a day, it will be just like this in your vagina. It won't be coming out again. It will just be in your vagina. For some people, they don't get to see it this much. As from the first day to the day it stopped coming, they see it just like this, just slippery in their vagina. Okay, so when you start seeing this, it is show that your fertile window is open. When we say your fertile window is open, it means at this time when you have sex, on the days leading to your ovulation, the day your egg will drop, when you start seeing this, it doesn't mean that you are ovulating, like your ovulation has come, like your egg has dropped. No. The egg sent this to keep the sperm alive. This thing, this discharge, this egg white fertile mucus, is the sperm food. When the sperm comes into your vagina, before your ovulation, before the egg drops, the sperm eats this to stay alive. That's why the people that see this are more on advantage than the people who don't see it. Doesn't mean if you don't see it, you won't get pregnant. You will, but the lady who is seeing this is more on advantage because her husband's sperm is going to stay in her vagina for at least 3 to 4 days, even if she has not ovulated. So when the sperm drop and you haven't ovulated, this discharge, the egg white fertile mucus, will be feeding the sperm until the day of ovulation. So this egg white fertile mucus is called the sperm food. So when you get to, it will get to a level where your discharge will not be coming out again. Like it won't be dropping, it won't be stretching. It will just be slippery in your vagina. As you are seeing my hand, you are washing and nothing is coming out. For a lot of women, that will be the last day you see the fertile mucus. You wake up the next day, let's say today being 29th of June, you saw this slippery discharge that you couldn't wash out. It was not coming out of your vagina, it was inside the vagina, but you couldn't just wash it out. You wake up tomorrow being the 30th of June and nothing came out. What was coming out was now this discharge, this watery discharge that is like milk, or this pap-like discharge, or nothing came out at all. You were dry, you are still fertile. It is called the first 0 day. The egg is still alive. You know, if you are fertile enough, the egg is going to be alive for 24 hours. For those who their fertility is shaking a little bit, for 12 hours, and then for some people for 6 hours. So when the next day, when nothing comes out of your vagina, you are still fertile, it is called the first 0 day. Then the next day is called the second 0 day. We'll have 3 0 days. And then the third day is called the third 0 day. And then the fourth day after your peak. Sorry, I missed something. This day that the discharge was slippery, it is your peak. You are most fertile on that day, and that is the day you are most likely to ovulate. It's like a 99% chance you are going to ovulate on that day. On that day. So let's say that is your peak. It is called the peak. So on that, the fourth day after the peak, it is called the infertile day. It's your safe days. From that day to your next menses, you are not going to be pregnant. So you are not going to be pregnant again. So when you start seeing, after your menses, I'm coming back, after your menses, the next day you might feel dry, there's nothing in your vagina. That day you are infertile. But for those who are trying to select the sex of their children, you are not supposed to meet your husband on that day because anything can happen. But for people who are just ready to get pregnant, or they don't want to conceive, if nothing comes out of your vagina a day after or 2 days after your menses, you are infertile. But you are not now meant to be having sex you are not meant to be having sex every day. So after your menses, you are not supposed to have sex with your husband every day. You are supposed to alternate it. You have sex today and allow the sperm to come out, because when you have sex 2 days, sometimes even 2 days after, you will have a discharge that is like the egg white fertile mucus. You think it's ovulation. It's not ovulation, it's the sperm. Even though the sperm is watery, when it stays in the vagina, sometimes it becomes thick and it's drawing. So you will mistake it. That's why you are supposed to have sex on alternate days, 1 day on and 1 day off. You have sex today on the 29th of June. You are not having sex on the 30th of June. You have sex on the 1st of July to allow the sperm to come out, so that when ovulation starts, you will know that, okay, I'm ovulating now. So that if you are not trying to conceive, you will avoid pregnancy. But personally, when I'm not trying to conceive, I don't have sex on those days because I don't want high-tech happen. So after these days, you start seeing either the watery discharge that is like the milk, or the early pap, the pap-like discharge. If you are trying to conceive, it is good to start having sex now, because this thing can hide egg white that you don't know is around. So if you are not trying to conceive, when you start seeing this pap, you are not supposed to have sex again until the 4th day after your peak. The peak is the day that the slippery discharge is not coming out of your vagina, but it's slippery in the vagina. For some people, it doesn't go slippery. They will just see the discharge, but it will be the last day. of the discharge. Then for some people, throughout their fertile window, their discharge is slippery, it's not drawing, but the last day that you saw the discharge is your peak. You are most fertile on that day, so you are meant to have sex on that day if you are trying to conceive and you are not bothered about the sex. So if you are trying to conceive, when you start getting this mucus, this pap-like mucus, you're supposed to start having sex 1 day on, 1 day off, to allow the sperm to go out. So when you start having sex, when the fertile mucus comes, you start having sex 1 day on, 1 day off, so that you don't get overwhelmed until the 3rd day. You stop at the 3rd day after your peak. So when, for some people don't even know when their menses is likely to come, you ask them, when are you supposed to see your menses? They say, I don't know, I'll check my app. You're not supposed to check your app. Your menses comes for 11 to 16 days after your peak. If you know your peak, you know your ovulation day, you are supposed to know your menses, your next menses day. So for me, it comes from 14 to 16 days. So if my menses was on the 29th, I know that from 14 day after the 20 after my ovulation, I know when if my ovulation was on the 29th, I know that on the 14th date after my ovulation to 16, these 3 days I should see my menses. So it doesn't change at all, except if I'm pregnant, from 14 to 16. That's why you cannot say, that's why I was telling you in the first video that you can't assume your ovulation, because your ovulation comes alternate a little bit. That's why even your menses is alternating, either it's 25 days or 26 or 27. So you know that from 11 day after your ovulation, that's after your peak, to the 16th day, you should be having your next menses. So you start targeting these days to know your possible dates. So that will be all for today's class, and tomorrow we are going to be talking about sex selection. So thank you. I will see you tomorrow. Bye.